Bond producer Michael G. Wilson is well known by Bond fans for his regular cameo appearances, but he's not alone. Other producers, directors and stuntmen have appeared in cameo roles throughout the series. Not as regular or as prominent as some of Wilson's cameos, these still provide nice little Easter eggs for the biggest of Bond fans who even recognise the faces of behind-the-scenes personnel. We start with Dr. No, where the first appearance of Bond isn't actually Sean Connery, but in fact stuntman Bob Simmons, who carried out the famous gun barrel walk for the first 3 films. Connery didn't film this sequence until 1965's Thunderball. In From Russia with Love, we see the return of Anthony Dawson, who was last seen being killed by Bond as Professor Dent. Here, we don't see his face, as he was cast as Spectre No. 1, Blofeld. Goldfinger saw another on-screen appearance from a Bond stuntman in the form of Alf Joint, playing Kapungo in the pre-title sequence. George Leach also makes the first of his appearances as the man in the bulletproof vest in Q's lab. Bob Simmons wasn't too worried about losing the gun barrel sequence for Thunderball, as he was handed the role of Spectre agent Colonel Jacques Beauvoir instead. George Leach appears again, this time as a crew member of the Disco Volante. Anthony Dawson appears again as Blofeld, and there's also a blink and you'll miss it appearance by the producer of the film, Kevin McClory. One of the most obscure but also well-known cameos is that of director Peter Hunt, who appears as a reflection in the Universal Export sign at the beginning of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. We also get another appearance from George Leach as a strangled Spectre skier. He appears again in The Spy Who Loved Me as one of the gunmen in the car that's chasing the Lotus Esprit. He's joined by fellow stuntman Bob Simmons, who appears as Ivan, one of the Russian thugs who attempts to take down Bond when Anya suspects him of killing Fekish. This film also features the first appearance of Viktor Tordansky as the double-taking man with bottle. He appears again in Moonraker, this time enjoying the sights of St. Mark's Square in Venice, when Bond goes driving past in his gondola. With Michael G. Wilson in cameo overdrive for this film, it appears the other Brockleys aren't missing out on the action. Cubby makes a very rare appearance as a man in St. Mark's Square, with wife Dana and director Lewis Gilbert also rumoured to be present. The man next to Cubby looks like production designer Ken Adam to me. We catch up with Mr. Tordansky again in For Your Eyes Only, this time in his final appearance as Man with Wineglass. Bob Simmons also makes his last appearance as Lotus explosion victim, and George Leach can be seen as one of Christatus's boat crew who ties up Bond and Melina. Maud Adams is rumoured to have made her third Bond appearance in A View to a Kill. There's a debate as to whether she's the woman in the streetcar or the woman who's walking down the walkway as Bond and Chuck talk. A more obvious cameo is in the form of Dolph Lundgren, who appears as KGB agent Venz. He was dating Grace Jones at the time, hence his availability to appear in a scene. Another Bond stuntman, Paul Weston, gets in on the act for The Living Daylights, appearing as Gibraltar Soldier No. 3, who even gets a line. He had a tiny cameo in Spy as the guard called over to the monorail. Long-time Bond composer John Barry marks his final Bond film with a fitting cameo as a conductor for Kara's performance at the close of the film. Another nice little cameo role in License to Kill sees Pedro Amenderiz's son, Pedro Amenderez Jr., portraying President Lopez. Amenderez is of course the actor who played Karen Bay in 1963, but sadly committed suicide shortly after filming due to inoperable cancer. For GoldenEye, new Bond director Martin Campbell shows up as the unlucky cyclist who's a victim of Bond and Onatop's dangerous driving, causing those behind him to tumble off their bikes. Minnie Driver marks one of her first film appearances as Zukovsky's singing mistress, Irina. This also marks the first appearance of a new crop of stuntmen. Gary Powell appears as a guard who pins Bond up against a wall as he tries to prevent the Tiger helicopter from leaving. He shows up again later on as one of Alec Trevelyan's guards. The World Is Not Enough sees a cameo appearance from Bernard Lee, albeit in picture form, hanging on the wall at the Scottish MI6 HQ. Also appearing on screen are Gary Powell, as the unlucky recipient of several bullets from Renard, and another Bond stuntman in the form of Derek Lear, who also serves as one of Renard's submarine crew. Derek appears again in Die Another Day as an Ice Palace guard, but I can't seem to find him. Stuntman Glenn Foster also makes his first appearance as one of Graves's guards. We also have an appearance from Madonna, who performed the film's title song, in the more obvious cameo of Verity. Roger Moore's daughter, Deborah, also serves Bond rather shaken martini as he flies into London. Famous show jumper Oliver Skeet shows up as the concierge at Blades, following the sword fight. Casino Royale is littered with key cameos. Richard Branson can be seen being frisked at airport security. Martin Campbell, once again on directing duties, is killed at the hands of Carlos, who breaks his neck. Director of photography Phil Mayhew can be seen in M's office as a government official from the Treasury. Brazilian supermodel Alessandra Ambrosio portrays a tennis player who checks out Bond when he first arrives at the Ocean Club. And Zai Chin, last seen as the woman who apparently betrays Bond in the pre-titles On You Only Live Twice, plays Madame Wu, one of the poker players. Quantum of Solace sees the return of Derek Lear, who plays Haynes's bodyguard, and even gets a line to say. Glenn Foster's role also gets upgraded, playing the part of Mitchell, possibly the most significant role given to a stuntman yet. Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter, Una Chaplin, now best known for her role in Game of Thrones, marks one of her first film appearances as the receptionist at Pillar de las Dunas. A more obscure cameo occurs in Skyfall, with Bond walking past a familiar-looking Clem So at the casino. This is because his brother Tom played Mr. Fugatu in Casino Royale. Clem shows up again in Spectre as a member of the organisation listening in on the meeting. Finally, yet another obscure and hard-to-spot cameo comes in the form of Sid Mann, who first appears as the man who hands Bond his winnings in Skyfall, and then shows up again at the Spectre meeting. Maybe the Floating Dragon Casino is yet another Spectre-run business. Once again, if you feel I've missed anything, please leave it below in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, and Merry Christmas.